My brother James has a girlfriend, Lindsay, who he's been dating for 7 months. He decided to bring her to Christmas at my house, stay over Christmas Eve, and leave the next day after lunch. I had met Lindsay at drinks before this, and she seemed nice. When they arrived, Lindsay walked in, complimented my decorations, large tree in the foyer, and asked how much they cost. I was a bit surprised by the question, but I just said, more than I'd like, and moved on. Throughout the evening, she asked several questions centered around money. She asked my husband how much he paid for our house, my stepdad how much money he made in his previous job, and how much my watch cost. She even Googled one of our art pieces to see how much it sold for, and started talking about how crazy it is that we spent that much, which frankly was very uncomfortable. My stepdad pulled my brother aside and asked if there was a problem, but my brother just said it was normal for her to do that, but he did say he'd speak to her about it. On Christmas morning, we all gathered around to open presents, and thankfully, Lindsay didn't say anything untoward, so I figured James had spoken to her about her intrusive questions. However, at lunch we were talking about plans for January, and Lindsay said loudly that she didn't know how we could afford to do anything in January, as she added up the total we'd spent on gifts and then proudly proclaimed the total amount. The whole table went silent, and honestly, I was equally shocked and annoyed that someone could be so ignorant. I looked at Lindsay and said, "You're the world's most diligent gold digger. Seriously, would you like to be the family accountant since you're already tracking expenses?" Lindsay stuttered out an apology and tried to explain, but my stepdad just changed the conversation and we moved on. She was mercifully quiet for the rest of the dinner. After they left, my brother messaged me, saying I'd really upset Lindsay and was out of line with what I said. I argued that he said he'd talked to her, and he clearly didn't. Not that someone should have needed guidance to know how crass her comments were. He's saying I owe both of them an apology, but I think Lindsay's behavior was disgraceful. My parents say Lindsay was wrong, but I probably should have said something in private, or they could have, and I should have said something in front of everyone. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She came into your house and started appraising your assets' net worth like you're about to go to auction. Are you sure she's not planning a New Year's Eve heist? Seriously though, your brother had the gall to ring you up and say you upset her when she's asking intrusive financial questions and itemizing your belongings. If I were you, she wouldn't be getting an invite back. She's a girlfriend of 7 months. This is her first Christmas with the family. The first. I may get away with this level of crassness with my mother-in-law of 6 years if it's clear that I'm joking, but come on, lady. In what world is asking people how much money they make and adding up the totals of Christmas gifts normal? So sorry to your brother, who's suffering from extreme delusion. Agreed. She was being incredibly rude and obviously making everyone uncomfortable. For me, when she Googled the price of the art piece, would have been a what the heck moment. Like I'd start locking up my jewelry and watching her. As for my brother, I have one word: prenup. You are the idiot. She's not a gold digger. Such a stupid term, by the way. She's simply in awe of excess spending. Yes, it was rude and ignorant for her to make comments, but that doesn't make her an idiot. You owe her an apology for the inappropriate name calling. If you were raised the way you imply, you know how to soft cut a conversation. You took a hard cut at her in public, which is as unseemly as asking how much the tree was. Your goal was to make her uncomfortable. Is she autistic? Autistic people have trouble understanding the unwritten rules of society, such as off-limits conversation topics. Even if she was on the spectrum, that's no excuse to be excessively rude and make a family's Christmas awkward and uncomfortable. People think that mental issues are a blanket excuse for any type of crappy behavior, and that's just not how the real world works. Don't apologize to your brother. Why should you? She should be apologizing to you, and your brother should be apologizing on her behalf. If someone is rude to you, you're allowed to defend yourself and shut them down, which is what you did. Maybe next time she'll learn to keep her mouth shut and not constantly talk about money. My brother John dated Kiara for 10 years, and they broke up 4 years ago because my brother didn't want to leave my city, and Kiara got a great job opportunity outside the country. He made her choose between the job and him, so she moved to another country. Kiara and I became best friends while she dated my brother, and we maintained our friendship even after the breakup. My brother always said he didn't like it, but I didn't care. He's been dating Pam for 3 years. She's 6 months pregnant and engaged to him. Kiara's also dating a great guy. The situation. This year, the construction of my house was finally done, and it has a large leisure area and swimming pool, great for parties. Because of that, I decided to throw a party at home, and my parents and brothers agreed to come. In all, there would be about 30 guests, friends and family, at the party, including Kiara, who's spending the ends of the year here, and I invited her. As usual for my parties, I set up a message group with the invited adults to discuss the menu and who was bringing what. In that group chat were also Kiara, Pam, and John. John called me asking if Kiara was in that group, and when I confirmed it, he started saying that it would be weird to have his ex at the party and that it would be better if she didn't go so as not to make the situation difficult. So I asked Kiara if she felt okay with them at the party, and she said, yes, why not? So I just replied, I want her there so she stays. This caused a stir, and even Pam called me, saying that it would be too awkward for Kiara to go and that she wouldn't want to go through more stress while pregnant, basically begging me to uninvite Kiara. I was already fed up and replied, look, grow up. The relationship ended years ago, and she's my best friend. Unfortunately, who's also John's ex. But it is my party, and I won't stop inviting my friends because you don't want to. If you don't want to go, that's fine. I won't be upset. Feel free. It didn't help the situation much because now they're accusing me of choosing to create an awkward situation instead of having a peaceful family time. My parents asked me to give up the idea of having peace that day, but no one offered the house for the event. I understand being an ex and being annoyed, but it's still my party, and Kiara came to the country to see friends. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. I get it's your house and you can invite whoever you want, but why won't you just give your brother the heads up or ask how he feels about it? I guess that you aren't very close to your brother. As for Kiara, she isn't visiting to come to your party. You could see her another time. But that ship has sailed. You've already invited everyone, and you shouldn't have to uninvite your friend for your brother. So you suck for pushing your bro to be around his ex with his new partner. That's super awkward. And he told you it was awkward in the past. And he sucks because he shouldn't go instead of trying to get you to uninvite someone. Not the idiot. Your house, your guest list. And it's not unreasonable to expect everyone to adult up and adjust to the new order. Why is your brother still getting the collywobbles at the mere mention of Kiara? Grow up, dude. You're married and you have a baby on the way. Kiara isn't holding you hostage to the past. You are. He's afraid Pam and Kiara are going to compare notes. He made her choose between the job and him is, I guess, probably technically true, but a very, very strange way to phrase things. Most people would not be willing to move to another country for their girlfriend or boyfriend, even spouse's job. I guess there's more to the story. My girlfriend, 22, and I, 25 male, have been together for almost 6 months. As she lives across the country from her parents and couldn't do the travel this year, she was invited to come to my family Christmas instead. She had met my parents, but it was her first time meeting most of my extended family. A couple of days before Christmas, we woke up to find her pet hamster had died in the night. She was really upset about it. It was a year old, which I think is a pretty normal life for a hamster. She cried and didn't feel like doing anything for the whole day, which was fine. We even had a little funeral for it and buried it in our backyard. Come Christmas morning, my girlfriend is still sad and doesn't want to wake up and have breakfast together or open presents. She said she couldn't enjoy it as she'd bought presents for her hamster and it was making her too sad. I told her I could take her to the store and she could pick out a new hamster as a present to cheer her up. She got extremely upset at this suggestion and started bawling, telling me that I was being heartless. It wasn't something she could just replace. I started to get angry because at this point, it had been 2 full days of this, and it felt a little bit performative. Finally, I left her alone so I could cool off. At about 1, I went back to check on her, and she was just lying in bed on her phone. I told her she needed to start getting ready as we had to leave the house by 2 for Christmas dinner. I saw she was watching hamster TikTok, and I told her this was only making her more upset, and she needed to get up right now, or she would make us late and embarrass us. She started shouting at me and said she wasn't coming to Christmas, that I shouldn't expect her to come when her pet had just died, and that I was being emotionally unavailable. I said my whole family was expecting to meet her. They had bought gifts for her. She said they'd all understand that she was just too upset to deal with everything. She claimed she would make a bad impression if she came because she was just too miserable. I told her she was being utterly ridiculous. I know she's sad, but my family isn't going to take a hamster dying as a serious reason to miss the biggest holiday of the year. I said she needed to get ready to go and there would be no further discussion. She ended up coming, but we were late. I thought everything went fine. Afterward, my mother sent me a message saying my girlfriend didn't seem like herself and asking if everything was all right. My girlfriend saw the message and lost it at me again, saying this was exactly what she was worried about, and now my whole family would hate her. I'm really at a loss for what to do at this point. It's been a couple of days, and the fight has not been resolved. I really don't think I was in the wrong, but she's extremely hurt and says that I'm being a psychopath. You are the idiot. Replace hamster with cat, dog, horse, or any animal in the story. Does her reaction seem more understandable now? Just because it's a hamster to you doesn't mean it was the same for her. I don't know why you were so concerned with parents meeting her, because I doubt she'll be your girlfriend much longer. You may not think a dead hamster is the end of the world, but your girlfriend really loved the rodent and needed more time to come to terms with his passing. The issue wasn't really about the hamster. It was about a young lady who was not in the proper mindset to be meeting her boyfriend's family, but you made her go anyway. You can think she's overreacting, but that doesn't matter. She shouldn't have been made to leave home until she felt ready to leave home. Not to be morbid, but just in case she decides to get another hamster, are you sure the hamster wasn't hibernating? Hamsters get buried all the time from going into hibernation, which is very similar to death. Is this her first hamster? Because in that case, it can be easily mistaken for a dying. Holy crap, I didn't know this was a thing. We buried him in a shoebox with some flowers and a couple of his toys. But geez, I really hate to think of the little guy possibly being alive out there. I think I should dig him up to check. 10-ish years ago, my friend Deb was 17, working fast food, and had a manager 38-ish. As soon as she turned 18, he started dating her, and 2 months later he proposed to her. Now, if you ask Deb, she'll say she didn't understand it was dating as she hadn't dated before, and her parents were messed up, so she didn't have people to talk to about this. She said yes, because she feared losing her job and wanted to get out of her home life. She said she liked the feeling of having someone care about her, but she never liked her manager. Personally, I think this is just her too ashamed to admit she was going to marry a much older dude and is looking for excuses. Before their wedding, she called things off and said she never wanted to talk about it because she felt so disgusted and ashamed of that relationship. Life went on, and I'd say Debbie's life has improved a lot. She's engaged again with a guy a year younger than her, which is pretty funny. I've asked if he knows about her relationship with her manager, and she says he knows what she's comfortable with sharing. I guess her current fiancé didn't know she had said yes when she was proposed to. He just knew her manager had proposed to her. I spilled the beans during a joke I made. Everything was pretty awkward after that. Am I the idiot? You love throwing people under the bus, don't you? You are the idiot. Maybe you can't be happy or have nice things for yourself. I don't know. But that doesn't mean you should prevent others from building a life that they like. I especially love that OP finds it funny the friend is engaged to a guy a year younger than her. What's funny about that? You can feel the smugness oozing out of her story. What a disgusting person. Exactly. She's in a relationship with someone her age. Isn't that funny? Oh my God, I'm laughing my butt off at this moment. They're the same age. Just imagine. Please, someone get help. This is so funny I can barely breathe anymore. The only thing funnier than this is a 17-year-old with messed up parents. Like she took the chance to escape her awful family, only to fall into the hands of a completely messed up guy in his late 30s. I'm wheezing. Man, what's up OP's sleeve next? Is she gonna burst out laughing at someone's funeral because it's just so funny they died before their parents? You're awful. You knew about her childhood trauma of growing up. You knew she said yes because she feared losing her job, but also just wanted to get out of her home life, and don't recognize that this is also trauma. She told you she didn't want to talk about it moving forward because she was so disgusted and ashamed. But you thought it was something for you to just joke about? Spill the beans? How do you not realize what an idiot you are? You don't deserve her friendship. About a week ago, I, 23 female, arrived at my parents' house. My sister Kate, 29, and her daughter B, a young child, arrived a couple of days ago, right before the storm started. It is currently minus 20 Fahrenheit, so nobody's going outside until it warms up. B was a handful before the storm rolled in, and now that we're all stuck inside, it's only gotten worse. I don't do great in the cold. I have some issues with circulation in my limbs, and to help combat it, I have various heating options at home. Because I had to travel a few hours to get here, I only had a heated blanket that my parents provided, a small electric heating pad, and a microwavable stuffed dog. It isn't super easy to move around with the blanket or the pad, so for the past couple of days, I've been using the dog. Last night, my niece noticed that I had it on my lap while we decorated cookies and asked to play with it. I told her no, and she got a bit whiny, but we could redirect her, so it was fine. Around bedtime, she asked again if she could have the dog. I told her no again and tried to explain that it's a special thing that helps me so I don't turn to ice. She started having a meltdown. Kate asked what had happened, and I explained. She told me to give up the dog to make B happy and use a heating pad instead. I told her I wasn't going to do that because I didn't want to use it later and then have B think she was entitled to it because she wanted to play. Kate said I was being selfish, and that was that. This morning, B was acting out at breakfast and told everyone it was because I was being mean to her and not sharing my toys. I once again told her that it's something that helps me move, and that's why she can't play with it. She had another meltdown, and my sister's now giving me the cold shoulder. My parents are on my side, but I feel like an idiot for causing drama in an already stressful time of year. Not the idiot. Just be more direct. Show her how the dog heats up. Show her that it is for you to feel better. Tell her that it's not a toy, it's medical equipment. No one takes someone else's medicine. There are two lessons in one. Agreed. It's a medical device to you, not a toy. Your sister's an idiot and needs to understand the difference. I'm not a parent, but honestly, if it was just a stuffed animal that you liked and didn't want her to play with, that would have been fine. People who think children deserve to just have anything they set their eyes on and like are setting their kids up for failure. Imagine the day reality hits and they learn that they are, in fact, not entitled to every single object they desire. Your niece is spoiled and her mom is enabling her. Your sister's clearly the cause of why your niece acts out. If the solution to your child throwing a fit is to just give them what they want, then they'll just continue throwing a fit. I have some little cousins like that, and their parents never say no or discipline them. As a result, they're a terror when they come over and do poorly in school.